Hi everyone and welcome along. I'm afraid you don't get to see my face today just because we're working in a slightly sort of depleted manner today, so it's just me and the desk and the paints, but that's no problem. That's kind of what you're here for anyway, isn't it? So I'm just going to do a really simple little card design today. I've got a piece of paper that's just tucked underneath the kitchen roll here that's been ready scored so we can make a nice card. The size of the paper is a classic A6 in the UK card size, which is what is it? It's 14.8 centimeters by 21, and that midpoint, that's 10.5 centimeters. So today I'm just going to teach you a really simple, quick and lovely card design, because sometimes you just need a card. I went to one of my dear friends' birthday parties yesterday, and I had about 20 minutes to go before I left, and I realised I needed a card. So all I've done here on this is just a quick curve of a stem or two, and that's going to be my basis for my stems. And I'm just going to place in, to begin with, some lovely little berries. Now, the colour palette I'm going to use, if any of you watched my creating a colour palette quick fix last Friday, you can find that in the quick fix tutorial playlist. You will have seen me planning a colour palette using pinks and greens, and that's what I'm going to use today. So I'm going to begin with a lovely blush colour, and I'm just going to place in some little circles in this very, very faint blush. One or two berries will have little unpainted circles, and then I'm going to take just a tiny bit more of the pink, and I'm just going to paint one or two berries that are going to bleed in to those more orangey berries. And I'm going to leave that like that for the moment. And now I'm going to, so that's going to be a sort of stem coming off there. I'm now going to place in some sort of larger flowers, just some really simple petal flowers, which is my very sort of layman's term for them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my size 2 brush, and I'm going to create petals sort of coming out from this anchor point, quite nice and loose. And then there's going to be sort of one or two just coming from that centre there. And I'm just going to dab a little bit of alizarin crimson in the middle there. But I'm also going to take a bit of that, and I'm just going to add the littlest bit to the edges of the petals too. Going to place in another one. That's maybe a little bit more closed up. I think a lot of people get a bit stuck sometimes painting these loose flowers, because you sort of paint them and you think, oh, they look rubbish. I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure. But honestly, you just need to sort of allow the petals to take shape in their rather strange formation, because at the moment that looks all a bit loose and a bit weird, but trust me, it's going to look really, really lovely. I'm going to now do something far more orangey. Oh, please excuse the dogs barking if you can hear that in the background. Now, we're going to paint a little something that I'm going to place in. So if we imagine we've got that little bud, I'm going to put something in that sort of is going to come out the top there. And it's just going to be a little scribble of a flower in this orange. So we'll just see tiny bits of it around the edge. And then I think we've gone the orangey direction to the sort of red side of the pinks, but also there is the more sort of purpley pink side of things. So I've got some cobalt violet here. I'm just going to mix with a bit of permanent rose to create a nice fresh colour. Okay, so you can see it's sort of quite plummy now in there. And I'm just sort of considering some different shapes, I guess. So thinking about flowers and buds and little shapes. So we've got some open flowers, we've got some little berries, we've got something, just a little sort of froofy thing here. And now I'm just going to create some sort of larger bud shapes by just using slightly low angled brush to the page. If you want, you can just take some pure cobalt violet and maybe drop in a little bit more of that. And pop one in there. And there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to focus on the greens and blues. So I've got some Sap Green already mixed up here, and some French Ultramarine blue. Just going to get them all sort of ready there in the palette. And I'm going to begin with the rigger brush. Long slender bristles, and I'm just going to begin by starting to connect things up. And what's lovely is my buds that I painted last still nice and wet, which I rather like. I like the idea that they're all just bleeding in to each other just a little bit. These won't be quite the same, but now I'm just going to connect them. Oh yeah, there's a little bit. I quite like it as a little bleed here and there. And I'm making sure that I sort of keep my greens a little bit varied, just to keep things interesting. And the pencil lines can be very helpful, because sometimes you can get a little bit lost. And then it's not the most sensible thing to mix colours with a rigger brush. Best to get your big sturdier pointed round in and then use the rigger to pick it up. There we go. And I sort of hold the rigger fairly vertically to the page. I find I get the best control. And you can also use the rigger if you want for some sort of extra little sort of grassy extras like that, some sort of long slender bits. That might be good for like a nigella flower, or the little leaves that come around an anemone. But if you want some nice larger, broader leaves, then just get one of your pointed round brushes in to play. And lo and behold, we're very close to having a lovely finished piece. But at this point you sort of start to look and go, well, do I need some extra little bits in? You might feel that you want to just sort of bring up the eye up into the top there and just add maybe some extra little bits. And then finally, to finish off, we'll have a little something in the middle of those flowers, and I'm going to be a little bit bold with this, and I'm going to take some the alizarin crimson, mix it in with French ultramarine, get a really nice deep dark plummy colour, and just sort of dot the brush into the middle. That little bit of darkness just really helps. And then finally, just finding places where the rigger brush might struggle to get to. Just turn the page around. And there we have a really quick, simple, beautiful little watercolour card. So you can take it, fold it, pop it in an envelope, and that is a super quick card that anyone will love. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.